All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, it's time to start a video on a subject I've been avoiding and I didn't really want to talk about, but it's an issue and we got to go over it and figure out what's going on. So let's head on over here. And oh man, we got this thing partially apart. Forgive me, let's steal a battery. I'm wholly unorganized here. Let's get this thing going. As you can see, got the car apart a little bit, and I've been thrashing on it, taking it out for street drives just for fun, you know, like the dyno and everything else. And I've had this misfire I can't seem to locate, so I've been investigating, and what's funny is nothing has changed. But I'll show a picture on this video. I'll overlay. I've been doing compression tests, and this entire cylinder head has like awful compression. And I haven't even done this other side yet. I haven't even pulled the plugs out, which is something you should do for a compression test. Is have, I mean, you should have none of the plugs in, and then just do the compression on that cylinder. Anyway, we'll skip past that for now. I'll do that eventually. I want to check that side, but most importantly, like I posted the video of me like thrashing on it, pulling like a bear. It's making a ton of power. Everything's the same. It still has a slight miss. Like every now and then it has a little bit of a bark. It has an issue. You're cruising and it has a little stumble, and I temp gun the cylinders, and this back cylinder, number 7, super cold. These are like 300. Every cylinder is roughly 300 degrees. This guy's like 146. I'm like, okay. So I mess around with my coil packs, swap coil packs, plugs, wires, and I think you can even see on the plug for that cylinder, maybe I swapped it out. Ugh, I keep burping, I'm sorry. The coil pack, plugs, wires really didn't do anything. And unplugging the injector, also, it runs the same when you unplug and plug the injector back in. Nothing really happens. So, it's kind of funny. Let's backtrack huge. Let's backtrack really far. Let me jump into frame for this one. Yeah, hi. Let me see the... It brought up like my recording menu. I don't want to do that. When I put this motor together, I'm going to check and see if I have the video footage, because this is pretty interesting. When I bought this engine, it was like just the long block, nothing special. And I did the valve springs. Cylinder number 3, which this is 1357 on this side. This side had no problems. Passenger side had no issues. Driver's side, cylinder number 3, second one back, and then 7 all the way back, leaked like a son of a bitch. When I put I have a compression tester that I take the Schrader valve out of, and I pressurize the cylinder, and that's how I keep the valves up. I put like 75 pounds in, and then I use my spring tool, and I swap out the springs. The air pressure keeps... I'm congested. I'm sorry. Why am I don't know. Anyway. 3 and 7 were leaking pretty crazy, which every now and then they do leak. Most of the time. I have super high mileage motor. The valves are pitted. The intake valve has just disgusting EGR gunk on it. And I hit it with like a dead blow, and they'll clean up a little bit, and we'll laugh about it. I really don't pay much attention to it. And I put it together, whatever. These were leaking pretty awful out of the exhaust valve. And for a moment, I'm like, I should pull the heads off this motor. And I'm like, nah, not going to do that. Going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it, and the motor's going to make good power, and one day I'll talk about how bad it was, and it didn't make a difference. So, I don't know if I had a problem with the valve then. I don't know if there was a problem with the engine when it was pulled. See, now it's too late to know for sure, because I never did. I put this motor in, I never did a compression test. Are you kidding me? I never did a compression test. And it made 350 on motor, and then we pulled the tune-up back, put a colder plug in, it made 320 all day long, sprayed it until the nitrous kit couldn't make anymore, it made 500, and then put this blower on, and it's been running out of fuel. It has like a 13.0 air fuel no matter what, mid-13 air fuel, above 500 horsepower. Not great, but, you know, that's just how it's been. I don't know what to tell you. Awesomely enough, I got to do a mail time video. Someone offered to send me a booster pump and actually did. Fucking get that. Sorry, excuse me. I have a booster pump for free. I'm going to send that guy some stuff. So, where we are at is it has horrible compression across the board, like on this cylinder head. So what I need to do, I'm not doing it right now. This is my spare time, literally, tonight, is just to film this quick update. I want to do the other side, compression test the other side. I don't know if this engine ever had a head gasket issue, it ever had a valve sealing issue. Honestly, no clue. I never investigated it ahead of time. And I feel like you're better off doing that most of the time, because you end up incurring costs, and you have a thing in the back of your head that's like, don't. And you should push that aside as often as possible, in my opinion. Anyway, here's where we are. I have thought about, and I probably still will, I pulled the injectors out just to make sure one of the injectors didn't stop working and burn up the back cylinder. The compression test is awful. It's like 40 pounds. Here's the thing. It doesn't smoke. Doesn't smoke out of the exhaust. Doesn't smoke out of the breather. If it's idling and you pull the oil fill cap, there's nothing really going on. And I have broken lots of these motors. Lots. If you've been watching for a while, I have broken many. And some of it was just for joke. Like, people, I would be like, hey, if you're so smart, tell me what to do, and I would do it and it would break, and I'd be like, well, it broke, and I would change a piston and be like, it's good again, tell me what to do, and I'd break it again off of suggestions. So I've broken a lot of ringlands in the middle, and they smoke. You get crankcase pressure immediately pumping out of the oil fill cap and other things. And all I have, again, if I hook up air to the spark plug hole, is I get giant exhaust leak. Like, you hear it just pouring into the header collector. It's hard to tell exactly, but you can hear it just pouring into the exhaust. I've messed around a little bit, but again, like, it's the compression across all 4 cylinders is crap, but the car will completely annihilate second gear. If you stab third hard enough from a roll, it'll boil third gear. Part of me wants to put everything back together, ignore what I found, and re-dyno it. If it still makes 570 tire, my brain kind of wants to be like, what is going on? And even then, just for fun, I was thinking maybe the push rods are too long, or cam lobe is wiped, or something else is funny. I have totally loosened the rockers. The compression test and leak down test is still not good, but the engine runs but has that slight misfire, but makes incredible power. So I'm at like a funny crossroads where normally it's pretty cut and dry. Like, okay, I heard it, and then we fix it. But part of me now is like, what happened? And what sucks is, since I didn't check it from the beginning, I'm not sure if I've had this problem the whole time and it's still there. So I'm trying to figure out what the hell I want to do. I might just put it back together and take it to the dyno again and dyno it. And if it still makes 570 tire with a heavy misfire and like 40 psi of compression in the back cylinder and under 100 in some of the other ones, I kind of wonder what the hell's going on, if it's just the valves leaking that bad. This is a 2008 4.8 with 799 heads. It did show significant leak when I did the valve springs, which I laughed about. I mean, that's just what I do. I was like, oh man, these leak terrible. I'm going to ignore it. And it made really good power on motor, is a funny byproduct of that. So if all of the cylinders are showing that unhealthy and it still makes good power, what the hell are we learning from that? Man, that will be like the biggest shrug ever. The other part of this equation is I got to do I'm going to pull all the plugs and I'm going to do every cylinder and write it down. Check it out. Obviously, this back one is junk. The compression is junk. I have a borescope camera and I shoved it into all these cylinders, and you can still see the machining marks on the top of the pistons. You can still see the labeling that was done from the factory. They have no melted edges on the top. That doesn't mean that the middle and lower ringlands are not broken, but the probability of that is low in my opinion, because there is no combustion loss into the oil part of the crankcase or out of the exhaust. The other thing that I have going on in my head is when we did the Don't BS Me project for my truck, I took the stock cylinder heads off that were fine, made good power, albeit slightly dirty, had pack springs in them, and I have them in my, they're in there, up in my attic. They're in the attic of my garage right now. Pack springs, everything done, known good. 862s. These are 799s. Questionable because they leaked when I bought the engine, and I laughed about it. So I think I'm going to do cylinder head 1 and 2, compression of all the cylinders, and then what I might do is bolt the known good one of the 862s on and do a compression test with just one cylinder head swapped and see if the compression comes up. Also, like flashlight checking the valves, see if the valves are leaking, see if something funny happened, if someone burned all the valves in this fucking engine, so it has awful it has awful statistics, but it still runs okay. Obviously, some sort of RPM helps them seal or ignores the percentage. Something really interesting is going on, and I think there's a lot to learn in this situation particularly. Let me know, like, if you guys know exactly what's going on. That would be funny, but something interesting for sure is happening, because it runs fine, other than, like, if you're driving, it has that blah, 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 blah. You can hear, I mean, if you turn up the audio, or if you're familiar with a misfire, some people can't hear it at all. Other people are like, whoa, it sounds like a Subaru. Totally true. One of the cylinders is dead, and you can tell that easily with a temperature gun. The one cylinder is half or less, a third of the temperature of the others. The compression is gone. It's absolutely gone in the one cylinder. As far as a mechanical test, like 40 psi is ludicrous, but the fact that the car boils tire and feels fairly fast otherwise is largely contradictory to what we're seeing number-wise. So we're at a bit of a really interesting spread of things going on here. So I think that's my game plan, is to pull all the plugs, do that side, do this side. When I did the valve springs, the passenger side, absolutely fine. When I did the valve springs on the driver's side, questionable. 2 of them were like, it was laughable. You hook up the air line, I was regulated to like 50 pounds, and it was like just blowing air out of mostly the exhaust, some of it in the intake. So it will be, if it boils down to it, yank the blower, yank this cylinder head. This cylinder head will be the easiest. Just the oil filter relocation kit is on it, and the header. And obviously the blower's got to go. So pull the cylinder head off, and then investigate the valves, some other things. See if there's an obvious issue that we can find and explore. But this is very interesting. I'm not sure because what I want to do. It's mostly together. I could literally slap injectors, valve cover, coil plugs, wires on this thing and start it again and take it to the dyno and dyno it, knowing that the compression is awful in most of these cylinders, and if it makes similar power... Mosquito. I got him. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. Yeah, I'm at like a really interesting crossroads with this stuff going on. I have other stuff for the car, stuff I want to do, obviously, so... But this is where I'm at. Weird, right? Anyway, the funny thing is I have no idea if this engine had healthy compression to start with. So that's part of the whole Pandora's box conundrum paradigm we're living in right now. But yeah, that's my game plan as of now. Like I said, is other cylinder head, write down all the numbers, and then maybe even slap it all back together and dyno. And then after that, the next step is pull at least this cylinder head, put the other known good head on, and do cold compression tests and see if it comes way up. And if it goes way up, it is absolutely a cylinder head issue, which is interesting. Maybe it had a blown head gasket stock. I don't know. Man, it's weird, right? It makes really good power. It runs good. Sometimes it has a misfire. It makes itself very well known sometimes when you're driving. It just... Blah, 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 blah. You can hear it, but you floor it and like... It's really good. I don't know. That's where we're at. Interesting update. Strange. Hopefully everybody learned something from this. Maybe me. Maybe some other people. Maybe some of you have already run into this. But either way, let me know. Super confusing. I'm really interested to just throw it back together with the knowledge of how poor the compression numbers are in the cylinder head and see if it makes the same power. And then that leaves an open conversation like, will it make a way more power out of nowhere, or will it be the same? Does it only leak at low RPM speeds? It's fine at higher RPM speeds? What is going on there? Other than I'm out of fuel and lean and I could have hurt cylinders, but it doesn't seem like the cylinders are hurt. But I do have a booster pump, so all of that's going to get remedied hopefully when all of that's done. Anyway, there's the summary. There's the questions at hand. What do you think? Strange? Intriguing? A little bit sad, possibly. The engine was not that expensive. Everything else was expensive, and that's why I preach what I do, because you know, you don't really want to spend a ton on the engine. Everything else is awesome. Yeah. Total loss. Really interesting. More questions than answers. Let me know what you think.